Good morning, my people, Irish Nation, Notre Dame fans everywhere around the world. I can say around the world because on one of the shows we had someone from Korea watching the show. So, good morning, everyone. This is Greg Flamong. This is the BYU post game morning after show. As always, we are coming to you. We are coming to you the morning after Notre Dame beats number 16th ranked BYU 28-20. In what I think a lot of people found to be an unsatisfying victory, judging by everyone's kind of reaction to the show or to the game last night on our post game show with Jamie Uyama and Mike Frank. They were the comments were basically like the main focus was how Notre Dame kind of tried to blow the game at the end there. They were up 25-6, and then they allowed BYU to come back and make it a game, right? It got really touch and go there at the end, but Notre Dame got the fourth down stop. They got the big Logan Diggs run, which I think everyone was very excited about. That was a great run by Logan Diggs, and then they get the Audric Estime run to seal the game. Never get the ball back to BYU. So we're going to talk about all that. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If this is your first time and you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button because we want to get this out to more people, right? And that helps the show and everything. And I always appreciate everyone who tunes in with me on Sunday morning to talk about the game. So let's get into some of the stats. And first of all, before I put that up here, I encourage everyone. ND for life. Good morning, Irish Nation. Thank you for coming in the show. You're always on this show, and I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. All right, well, let's get to some comments. So basically, before I'm gonna just put up any comment. This is a show for people to, I don't want to say vent. Morning after thoughts, right? Whatever you think about the game, how you feel about the game, we're gonna put it up, and we're just gonna let it flow, right? Stream of consciousness, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about it, and then we'll just go from there. So I'm gonna say Rajon. That's how I think. If I get that wrong, I apologize. Red zone was busy complaints, some big drops on a couple passes and an interception, pick six. So yeah, the red zone I think was probably the biggest one in terms of affecting the game. Right, like, obviously the pick six you could catch it. To me, when you don't get like two hands on the ball, like firmly on the ball, it's not really a drop. Obviously a play could be made, right? So there's that piece, but I think the red zone is a good one, right? Because I was talking about it last night. I don't think Notre Dame threw the ball into the end zone on any of their failed red zone chances, which, like, right, you want to get down there and you don't throw the ball in the end zone, you're not gonna. It's very hard to score that way, right? Like you're trying to walk the ball in instead of just throwing it in there. So I thought the obviously, anytime the red zone doesn't work out, that people are going to focus on the play call from Tommy Rees and that sort of thing, and that's understandable, right? And I think that he would probably want some of those plays back. For the way Notre Dame controlled the game, right? Like 41 minutes of ball control. They 496 total yards. BYU sitting there under 300. It's like, you feel like this should be a 3-4 touchdown victory. But that's not how it went. So let's see. I'm going to put this up. CFB Hurts. Defense allowed 5.5 yards per carry to a team that doesn't roll the ball well. Is that a concern or a blip? I don't know if it's a concern yet. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have Howard Cross, and then they didn't have Jacob Lacey, so that hurts, right? That's a big loss for the defense. It wasn't a great game for linebackers, even though Jack Kaiser was the leading was the top rated player on PFF. It wasn't a great game for them. I didn't think the run fits were very good. I didn't think JD Bertrand came in and played very well, which is, he didn't play in the first half. So it's it was tough there. We're gonna see though, right? Like I did not think BYU would be that effective running the ball. So it's a good comment because that's not what I expected. And if you listen to our stuff leading up to it, I didn't think they'd be able to run the ball at all. So that was really the only reason like BYU had a chance. Is that's how they scored their first touchdown, right? And so I think that gave them a chance. I thought they protected Jaron Hall pretty well. I mean, we knew that, right? Like we knew they could protect the passer. So that was kind of part of it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? Like Stanford can't run the ball, and they're going to play Stanford later. And so if they run the ball again, then I think we might have a problem. But they haven't done it. Notre Dame hasn't given up anything really on the ground since the Marshall game. So maybe it's just a blip. So it's something for us to monitor. So thank you for the comment and the question. Chris Schreiber watched this game a second time this morning. My only complaint in linebacker core, Bertrand feels very Joe Schmidt to me, and Leo Fowl active, but not where he should be. Yeah, Marist, it wasn't a good game for him. He didn't have a very strong game. Mitchell Vahalik. He mentioned more Prince Colley. I think we're probably going to find that. I think we're going to see that happen. He didn't do anything to make them not want to put him in the game, right? And I think you want more athleticism and you want more playmaking, and we saw him do that, right? Jaron Hall gets out of the pocket, and then Prince Colley right there. It's like Jaron Hall thinks he's going to get the corner, and Prince Colley shuts him down, right? And then we saw, and on another play, we saw them get the corner against JD Bertrand, right? So that just kind of goes to the point that they need more athleticism out there. They need more playmaking. So I think it's a good comment by you, Chris, that the linebackers did not look good in this game, and that's something that needs to be monitored going forward. The thing about the post-game show. So here's the thing about the post-game show, the instant reaction, right? It's all very emotional. The game just ended. I think people were really high, like it was 25-6, and I think everyone was in a good mood. And then Notre Dame starts messing around, right? And once the team starts messing around like that, people are going to react to that, and they're gonna focus on the fact that the fourth quarter was not very good. The second half of the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, it didn't look good for Notre Dame, right? And so that's where people, I think, are going to kind of focus and that sort of thing. So it's understandable, right? I tried to kind of bring everyone back. It's like, hey, like it's okay. Like they won by 8, and it's. I don't want to say like me and Jamie didn't think that BYU was really the 16th best team in the country, but still a good team, right? It's not like they're like Marshall, for example. It's not like they're that, right? So still a good opponent, and you come out and get the win, and I think Notre Dame should be happy with that. All right, so let's look at some stats here. Let's look at some stuff. All right, so this is the offense, and then the total yards. So BYU 280 total yards on the day, which is a little bit misleading because they barely had the ball, right? So it's basically 6 yards of play, which is not a great performance from the defense. Obviously, you have the big plays again. Notre Dame's got to figure out the back end in terms of like turning people loose, right? Like these aren't physical errors; these are mental errors. Houston Griffiths leaving the middle of the field. And I don't want to say it's his mistake, or I don't know. I'm just saying he's the one who was out there who's in single high, and then he just completely vacates the middle of the field, and you've got a player running free down the middle. That's not going to work. 496 total yards for Notre Dame, 6.8 yards of play, which is good. That's a good number. That'll win you most games. Offensively, 41 minutes of possession for Notre Dame. It's unbelievable. 24 first downs for Notre Dame, 11 of 16 on third down. That's incredible. And I think a lot of people were unhappy with Tommy Rees's kept running the ball on second and long, right? It didn't matter the down and distance. Like the distance on second down, it almost didn't matter. If it was second down, Notre Dame was going to run the ball. And it's he basically was very comfortable giving Tommy Reese, um, or I'm sorry, he was very comfortable giving Drew Pine at third down, putting him in third down over and over again. And to Drew Pine's credit, he came through over and over. Right? It's 11 and 16. I think a lot of that went to Michael Mayer. I'd have to look on those third down numbers, but that's where Notre Dame won the game basically on third down. When you go 11 of 16, you're really doing it. So those are some incredible numbers there. Let's see. Wow, I was looking at that. Should we be ranked? All right, let's talk about whether Notre Dame should be ranked. Should Notre Dame be ranked this week? I think they could be, right? I think, because here's the other thing. So you beat BYU, who was ranked, right, by the AP, by the coaches and everything. So whatever we think of them, whatever we think of them, it's that they were ranked, and then that's the way it was. And so then you beat a North Carolina team that's now 5-1, right? So they have one blemish on the record. They just beat Miami on the road. They whipped up on Virginia Tech last week, right after Notre Dame whipped up on them. I think you can make a case for it. I think somewhere in the 25, 24, 23 range. I think that's I think that would be fair. This is a good comment, I think, here from Mitchell. Won the middle eight. That's deferring, man. Deferring is the way to go, right? It's I've always liked it, because here's the other part. Even like you're always, when you get the ball, you're working with more information offensively, right? You're making an adjustment to things that they've already done. So you're either extending a lead or you're shrinking a lead when you come out at halftime and you get a chance to make adjustments. You've seen what they're doing, and the game has settled down, right? And so I think that's a good time to be playing offense, right? So I would much rather do that than start the game playing offense. And I understand like the whole script thing, but I think we've seen like Notre Dame is not a good first quarter team on offense. So if you're not going to be a first quarter team on offense, don't limit your possessions when you're not playing well, right? So I think this is a good comment. I think that's a good comment from Mitchell. Thoughts on going for two? Thoughts in general about going for two in the first half with a comfortable lead. If we took the extra point, we would have won by 2 scores, right? So, obviously, if it's 26-20, you kick the extra point. It's 29-20, and it's like then BYU has to score twice no matter what, right at the end. So it's not like they have to score and go for two. It's obviously a lot better for Notre Dame. So in general, in the first half, I don't like going for two in the first half. I don't like chasing points in the first half, really. Like maybe end of the third quarter, into the fourth. There's no need to chase points at that point, right? It just didn't make sense to me. I've seen other coaches do it, right? Like we've seen other teams kind of go for it or go for two in that instance. The problem, I agree with Rajon. It was too early. I think it was too early. You didn't need to chase points there, especially when you kind of feel like you're going to be scoring again, because they were moving the ball so well on BYU at that point. You're going to get more points. Like you don't need to go chasing them, right? You don't need that 2 touchdown lead. They missed the extra point, which make that cost them, right? Like you kind of bail them out for missing the extra point by going for 2 there. Because they were already going to be behind the numbers, and then you had the safety too. So I don't know. I didn't think they needed to do it. It's, to be fair, they did have the play was there. They had Michael Mayer, open. It was just a poor throw by Pine, but generally speaking, so just Michael said generally speaking, I don't like it. Rajon talking about running on 2nd and 10. Not a big fan, just general, again, generally speaking, sometimes you can do it obviously, and sometimes it works, and that's great. But like, Marcus Freeman mentioned analytics when going for 2 or the chart or whatever. Well, I think the chart and the analytics would show like running on 2nd and long is not going to be an efficient way to play offense just generally. So, all right, just looking at some more of these stats: 45 carries for 234 yards rushing, 5.2 yards a carry. Audric Estime and Logan Diggs both are approaching. So what is that? 190, 31 carries for 190 for those two guys. Obviously good numbers, right? And I think spurred on by those long runs. So 190. Let's see, 79 of the 190 from those guys came on 2 of those runs. So obviously the Estime run was very important that set up the field goal, and the Logan Diggs run. I don't want to say it didn't ice the game, but it really made it okay. Like now it got to the point that made it to the point where BYU is like, okay, if we ever get the ball back, we're going to have a minute left with no timeouts, right? That's a much more difficult situation than if Notre Dame's punting there and there's 2 minutes left and they have one of their timeouts, right? So that was a huge play from Diggs, a huge play from Estime. Both situations where I don't want to say made something out of nothing, because there was a nice hole for Diggs. Estime was obviously like just kind of milling around in the backfield, or not in the backfield, but maybe 4 yards, and then kind of finds space and breaks out of there. And then Diggs obviously with the leap and keeping his footing and all those things. Not the most efficient day for Chris Tyree, 11 carries for 42. I just, it was a tough one, man. He kept tripping. He keeps falling, and he has him and Under Armour cleats are just not working out. He's got to get those cleats. He's got to get those cleats sorted, because he's just, you feel like he's about to break free, and then he's stumbling around. And maybe it's just like he needs to pick his feet up or something like that. He dropped the screen that looked like it was going to be a big play. Not the best game for him. So hopefully he has a bounce back next week against Stanford. Also, he got kind of the ankle kind of messed up there. Let me go back, see if there's been some comments. Open underneath on the crosser. Yeah. Are Estime and Diggs? I don't think so. I don't think they have a 1 and 2. Honestly, I don't think that's true. I think it's the 3 of them. Chris, I think all of their I would say so. Rajon, but I'm going to go back to this. So different turf. He does this in everywhere, wherever he is. It's across venues, man. Like, and right? Like if everyone's watching, we've seen Chris Tyree's tripping, stumbling, mumbling, bumbling. It's just not a good. I don't know what it is. He needs to pick his feet up, I guess. And what happens is he really chops his feet, and I think in chopping his feet, he just kind of gets mixed up. But to go back to Rajon's comment here about Estime and Diggs, RB 1 and 2, and then Estime, CB Hertz said Estime looks like RB 1. The thing about that is, coming into this game, you would have said, like, I don't want to say you, I'm just generally, right, being on Twitter and being on other shows where people talk about the backs, and just looking at the Irish Sports Daily message board and that sort of thing. Coming into the game, you would have said, or a lot of people said, that it's Estime, Tyree, and Diggs should be the one who misses out, right? And so I think it's going to be a game to game thing, right? I think it's going to be. This is what I'll say. Of the 3 of them, the most consistent has been Estime. So to CFB Hertz, I do think that there's some merit to the fact that he's been the most consistent player, and then it's Diggs or Tyree who are kind of, they kind of vacillate. At least it has been like that in the last 2 weeks. So, but I do think that there's a world where Tyree gets hot and he stays in the game, maybe as a receiver, like he gets hot as a receiver or something like that. But I think Estime, and what you've noticed in the last 2 is they kind of led the game with Tyree and Diggs, and then hit Estime late, right? It's always kind of a later on thing. And I don't want to say late, like fourth quarter. I mean, like into the second quarter, right? That's when you see more Estime. And it makes sense to me, just because you want to wear them down a little bit, right? You want to wear down the defense, and then you bring in this truck who's who's a monster, right? Like Estime is a load, right? So he's a very good football player. But yeah, so I think we're going to see all three all the time, and I think that's fine. I think that's a good and that's a good mix of those guys. Obviously, you see Diggs with the big run at the end, right? Fresh legs, right? So there's obviously a benefit to that. Let's see, Chris Schreiber. Is there a possibility that Freeman has been loyal to the older guys that helped navigate the regime change, but might be getting to the point where other guys could add more? So I think what happens on football teams is early, you're going to play the guys who have played, right? It's a trust thing, right? You want to lean on your upperclassmen, and I think that's totally fair. And I think what you're seeing is they ease in the younger guys. It's like a Holden Stays, right, is out there. Tobias Merriweather got some snaps in this game. And so you see more of that, right? Like Ben Morrison is starting. They have Jaden Mickey out there. We saw Prince Colley have a bigger role in this game. Let me check how many snaps he took before let me see here. Prince Colley took 8 snaps. So actually he played less snaps than he did in the last game, but obviously he made more of an impact. So hopefully we see him more, right? And I think that's got to be something that they do, but it makes sense that as the season goes on, you're going to put more trust in the younger guys, and I think Notre Dame's doing that. So I think that's what it is. Colley playing more. Let's see. To the previous point, Colley playing more, maybe Junior Merriweather instead of Lindsey. Merriweather can't give anything less. Yeah, so the thing is like Lindsey, they didn't really, they targeted him once and he caught it, right? It was a nice catch for 9 yards. Let's see the snap counts. So they definitely, it is a point that you could have Merriweather out there just because Lindsey, they're not going after him, right? Like they're not targeting him. So you kind of feel like, well, if Lindsey again led the wide receivers in snaps. So obviously they like him out. There's some comfort for them in Braden Lindsey being on the field, right? Like that's just true, and that's just the way it is. I think Deion Colsey got 10 snaps in this game, mostly runs. Tobias got, and the thing about Tobias too is obviously he gets the 3 snaps, and that's not a lot. And no one's gonna be doing cartwheels over that. He was in on some big moments though, for sure, right? I mean, he was out there. It was a big 3rd down that Holden Stays caught the pass. They had Tobias Merriweather going out on the dig. So, or not on the dig, the fade. So, they had him in big moments. I think that's indicative more than probably anything else is that he was out there on like a money down, right? And so that's a good sign for them, feeling like they trust him. I think I saw Junior Tuihalamaka get in there. Let me see his and I want to say Rajon, it is better than mowing the lawn. I think that's true. And that's why we do it, right? You could mow the lawn, or we could talk about Notre Dame football. So let's see. What am I looking at? Junior Tuihalamaka. Yeah, 2 snaps. All right. So I saw him out there for 2. Bo Bauer only was 6. That's unbelievable, actually. What? And he started it. Is that true? Can that be right? 6 snaps for Bo Bauer? Gosh, I just don't get that. Especially when they say he's hurt, but he makes the play on the goal line. And obviously the big stuff that led to the 4th down. I don't understand that, actually. That's something that the media needs to ask Marcus Freeman. And I say the media, I'm kind of in the media. So yeah, I don't like that. Not getting Bo Bauer more snaps. 6 snaps. That's not good. Don't like it. Don't like it. Needs to be different. All right, let's check out the defensive snaps here. 6 total tackles. So first of all, only 40. What was it? No, I have to go back again. 46 total snaps for the defense. So the numbers on the defensive numbers are going to be down when you only have 46 total snaps. Brandon Joseph leads him with 6 tackles. He had the forced fumble. That was it was kind of a combination of him and DJ Brown. So it was kind of a duo kind of thing. So that's a good play by him on the hit. That was just kind of unlucky. Ben Morrison was right there to pick it up. But their lineman kind of got his big hand in there and pulled it out of there. So that's a nice play by Brandon Joseph. And the thing about Brandon Joseph is like I don't know that he's really given up a play this year, especially in the passing game, right? So the coverage has been good. It hasn't been great, right? Like he hasn't had the ball production like we thought, but he's also been he's been solid back there. He hasn't given up anything. All right, so Bertrand in his short stint came in there. He did have tackles, right? No tackles for loss or anything like that, but he did have some tackles. Let's see. Cam Hart, 3 tackles in this game. I thought he played a really good football game. He had the big stop. He had the half tackle for loss with Bracey on the bubble screen that unfortunately Notre Dame didn't pay off with the 3rd and 17 run, which that didn't look good. John Sott getting on the stat sheet for defense with the 1 tackle on the big punt return. John Sott's unbelievable, man. He is a great punter, and I appreciate him as a punter. Let me look at his average if that's on here. Now that we're sitting here, how is it not on here? That's punter erasure right there. You should have the punting stats. I don't appreciate that. All right, let's monitor. But see, there's the thing. Like, you know what, Chris Schreiber, thank you for bringing this up. He did change it to number 4 because there was number 4 in there. And I said, who is that guy? Right? There's no number 4 that plays for the defense. And then I thought, well, no. So on the sheet, it said there was definitely a number 4, Chris. There was definitely a number 4 out there because I saw him and I was like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know who number 4 is, but that's and he was playing safety. So I think he did change back. And that makes sense given that Freeman said he's only defense now. He's not going to be playing any offense. So it would make sense that he would go back to 4, the number he was going to wear. So I think that's right. I think he did switch to 4. Mitchell, this is the thing. We say he's hurt, but then he's in there on goal line. You know, why is he in there on goal line? If he's hurt, then why is he out there when then they're really smacking heads? So I don't know. That's something we're gonna have to check on. I didn't see an update on Bracey last night. I was looking for it. I think he cramped. That's just my opinion because he was on the sideline stretching it out. You don't stretch out a pulled hamstring. And the way he went down like that, it's like that wasn't a twinge. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't like a tweaked hamstring. It's like either it's a cramp or he just flat out pulled it. And like you wouldn't be on the sideline stretching it if it was a pull like that, right? No one would. It would hurt, right? It would just be, So I think it was a cramp, but hopefully we'll find out more information from Marcus Freeman tomorrow. Although they're not big on injury stuff, as we know, because we never publicly knew about Howard Cross not playing in the game. So if they don't have to tell you, they're not going to tell you. Let's see. Michael McGowan, huge props to Mayer for breaking Eifert's record. Love seeing Thomas emerge at wide receiver. True, right? I think Jaden Thomas, and not just that, but like the types of routes. I mean, the in route that he caught with the catch and run, that was a great throw by Pine. Fitted in there, but there was another defender coming and he fitted in there. It was a great throw, great catch. Really nice to see Jaden Thomas making some plays. Because look, I just felt like with Jaden Thomas, he needed an opportunity. Whenever he gets the opportunity, he hasn't had the drop, and I think people put too much of the pick 6 on him in the Marshall game. Yeah, he can fight for the ball, but that ball shouldn't be thrown anyway. Like I think this, it was a good performance from Jaden Thomas. It was really nice to see because I think he's been playing well. This is always the goal, right? Hoping to get a big enough lead on Stanford, see the young guys play. That's the goal, right? You want to have blowouts, just for the psyche of the team, right? You want to be able to put together a win where it's like everyone gets involved, everyone's in a good mood. It'll be in Notre Dame Stadium, it'll be at night, so that's a big part of growing the team, right? So that's something that would be great to see. That's a good comment there. Michael. Okay. Baseball. I have a problem with this. Distracted by the Mets game. Like, it's baseball. There's 12 regular season games, Michael. Why are you doing that? I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. Come on, Michael. Get it right. But yeah, I don't know. No, Michael. I don't accept it. I don't accept this. The game in hand, first of all, how long have you been watching Notre Dame football? Okay. The game, when is the game in hand? Okay. I don't accept. All right. Watch the game and we'll talk about it. Where he was in, I think he was in like kind of when they put the linebackers in, it's kind of like a weird, I'd have to see who he's, okay, that's fine. I'm going to stop giving you a hard time. Don't turn on the Mets game. Okay. At least have it on the side or on your phone or something. Let's see. I was livid when I turned on the Miami UNC game and it was the 12th inning of a baseball game. Gross. It is gross. 12 innings. And then they put 0-0. Like people complain about soccer all the time. 0-0 after 12 innings. Then they went to 15. It's like a 4-hour game. And it's like you're seeing nothing. Ridiculous. I kind of disagree with that. I think here's the thing. Go back, Rajon, go back and find 2018 Stanford. That's what I think this game was for Drew Pine. Go back to 2018 Stanford, right? Like, because here's the thing. The 3 years into Drew Pine's, I put out the tweet before. People are going to love Drew Pine. They're going to love Drew Pine until he doesn't win a playoff game. And then it'll be just like the Ian Book thing. I mean, we loved Ian Book at this stage in his career. Okay. And that's just true. Everyone did. Right. But he didn't turn into a first round pick. And so therefore he needed to be discarded. And I'm not saying by you. I'm not saying that. I'm just, he needed to be discarded because he wasn't going to take us to the next level and that sort of thing. And so Ian Book got, unfortunately, kind of maligned by the fan base, right? For what he wasn't in terms of what he was. And I think that's true from Drew Pine. But I think that the spirit behind this comment is that we saw Drew Pine make some throws last night. Drew Pine made some throws. I mean, the touchdown to Mayer, and I'm going to put this up on the Twitter machine because on a breakdown, I can't do it here because of the copyrights and all that stuff. But I'm going to break it down on the Twitter machine because on the touchdown to Mayer, the one that goes over the top, the second one, he does a really good job of staring down that safety, man. You got the for sure, no problem. I'm just saying, like, I think we kind of misremember the beginning of Book and conflate it with kind of the end of Book. That's my opinion, and I'm not saying you do that. First of all, thank you for joining the show. I've never seen you on the show, so if you like this, right, and I appreciate all the commentary in the chat as well. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and that goes for everyone who's listening, right? So I lost my train of thought. Yes. All right. So the spirit behind the comment is we thought Drew Pine makes some really good throws, right? And it's like kind of one of those things where you say to yourself, "Oh, okay, like we got something here, right? We got a little quarterback, right? Throws the ball over the top, stares down the safety, like I'm gonna show it. You're gonna see. He stares down the safety, and then he gives a little look over with his eyes to Mayer. It's like I still got what I like." And then he holds the safety again, and then he turns and throws. Really good stuff from Drew Pine. He does really good job with his eyes. That's a little quarterback savvy that he's got that I really appreciate there. I'm going to throw up some other stats as well since we're sitting here. And I put together the slides, and so that's what I'm going to do. All right, so here we go. Drew Pine. First quarter, Drew Pine, no, not great, right? 13 to 25, 170 yards. 52% completions, 4.3 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. This is why you're a backup numbers. Okay, that's what those numbers are. This is why you're a backup. Drew Pine rest of game, Joe Montana, right? 50 to 60, 594 yards, 83% completions, almost 10 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that is I can be a viable starter numbers. Right, that's what those are from Drew Pine. It's good stuff. It's good stuff from Drew Pine there. I mean, once he gets going, man, he's got it right. Get out of that first quarter, and then Drew Pine, the cape comes out for Drew Pine. Let's see. Let's throw this up there. I haven't even read it yet. So let's see the difference between Pine and Book. Pine knows he can't tuck and run, so he stands in there and makes a throw a couple of times. That's true fact, I believe. I think that is correct. Drew Pine doesn't look to run as much because it's not his thing, and Ian Book was too good with his legs, almost for his own good. So I think that's fair comment. I'm gonna go with that. Michael McGowan is officially on the Pine bandwagon. We went out, and he will be the starter in 2023. Okay. Winning out would be unbelievable. That would be. I mean, that you could make a case. You could make a case that if Notre Dame wins out, this would be the most that would be more impressive than anything Notre Dame has done. I don't know. I guess it's hard to say about what 2020. They won some big games in 2020. It'd be a great season, especially considering like where, kind of where we thought it was going, right, with the Marshall thing. I mean, that would be unbelievable, and that would be full systems go on the Marcus Freeman era. By the way, oh man, I appreciate you. Rajon. Thank you, and thank you for joining in the chat. Pops, good morning. Thank you. Good morning to everyone. See, here's the thing: we don't know, right? It's tough. If Drew Pine keeps playing like this, second half Drew Pine, if it's second half Drew Pine, it's going to be very hard to unseat him. I mean, how are you going to do better than 9.9 yards per attempt, 594 yards, 83% completions? I mean, that's good stuff. But Drew Pine will make his case. Drew Pine has what is it? They're 3-2. He has 7 more games to make his case to be the Notre Dame starter in 2022. And right now he is making a very, very good case. Who would I like to see play more? So here's the thing. They don't, I mean, obviously, right. So you want Prince Kollie in there more, right? You want Prince Kollie in there more. I think you want to see more Tobias, right? Just to get the option, right? Because he's a big kid, he's an athletic kid, so you want him out there, right? I would like to see, they do need to get more out of the wide receivers, period. I think that is something that needs to get fixed, because I don't know what BYU's thinking about. I don't know what BYU's doing, but teams are going to do better against Mitchell. I think that's a good comment. I'll put it up in a second. People are going to do better against Mayer. BYU allowing that to happen is pretty inexcusable. Imagine it's flipped. Let's say this is a BYU pod. That's all I'd be talking about. How dare you? How dare you allow this person? We know he is basically their best player on offense. He is the one person. It's we cannot let him beat us. And he did. That's unacceptable. That's ridiculous. The BYU pods, Cougar Sports Daily needs to just be flaming the defensive staff right now for their misdeeds and their misjudgments, because you can't let that happen. But so you do need more out of the wide receivers. That it does need to happen, right? I don't think you're not getting anything out of Lindsey at all. And I think he's a player that you can get things out of, right? Same thing with Styles, right? Obviously not like they're not getting anything from Styles, but you understand, right? He needs to be a little bit better player. So that's more of what it is. That's the one thing I think more than any player. I think that's the position group that needs to get activated, and hopefully it does, right? Because that's what takes the Notre Dame offense really to a very dangerous level where teams have to be very, very concerned. Mitchell, it kind of feels like Zaire Kaiser's situation, Buckner Pine. The only difference I would say with that, because I do think that's true in terms of, you had the starter and he was locked in and he was going to be the starter guy. Then the backup comes in and it seems like he's going to be the kind of the heir apparent or whatever. I do think that's a fair comment there. The difference is Zaire and Kaiser, I don't think had a very good relationship. And so I think that really kind of like there were factions there. This is something that I've heard. I don't know it to be the case, but I think there were factions, and that was the real bad part of that situation. But we'll see. Too many linebackers, lose a couple this offseason. Well, for one, right, you're going to lose Bauer and Bertrand regardless. So there's that. So that they won't be. Oh, or maybe Bertrand has more time, but Bauer will be gone. And so I don't know. I don't know that they have as many linebackers as we think. They do have a lot though. So whatever, it'll get figured out. I guess it's a fair comment, right? It'll get figured out, and Notre Dame will be fine there. Let's move on to the next little slide I put together here. Last 3 games on the ground for Notre Dame: 137 carries, 668 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Previous 2 games, not good, right? Not good. So this is what needed to happen, right? They needed the offensive line to get going, and I thought it was notable. So I have another slide here. I think it's the one. PFF grades on offense. Obviously, Mayer lights the world on fire. But I thought it was notable that Blake Fisher was the top-rated offensive lineman. I think that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal for Notre Dame because he struggled in the first few games there. I think getting used to the right side. We saw him play better against North Carolina, much better against North Carolina. And then in this game, he played another one. If they get Blake Fisher sorted, all systems go on the offensive line and that sort of thing. It's one of those things you could just kind of book it, right? And we're basically getting to that point anyway. Especially, I mean, this is what this tweet kind of illustrates. Like that, it's 3 games in a row where, and it's like, look, Cal's a good defense. Okay, BYU's not a great defense, but I think they're along the lines of Cal, right? Those are 2 good defenses. North Carolina is obviously not, but then they bludgeoned North Carolina. Right. And you go over 200 again last night. So I think it's getting to the point where you can count on the Notre Dame offensive line at this point. I think the pressures, I think they gave up a little bit more pressures than they probably would have liked, but they were good enough to where it didn't destroy the game. Next year's linebacker is going to be loaded. Drake Bowen should play early. He's a good football player, man. He's a really good football player. I don't know whether they're going to try to fit him in, but he's a really good player, and he's super versatile, super athletic. He runs like he runs like Ray Zellers. You watch his high school tapes. Imagine if Ray Zellers was a linebacker. So that's pretty good for him. So obviously, great to see Jaden Thomas. We've seen a couple comments like that. Jaden Thomas had a great game for Notre Dame. And then Audric Estime obviously played pretty well. Drew Pine going in there. So look, if those are going to be your top 5, you want your best player, then your quarterback, offensive lineman. Those are good numbers. Let's switch over to the defense here. PFF grades on defense. Jack Kaiser leads the team PFF. And here's the thing with him. I mean, he had the safety, right? You're gonna go in there and get the sack, cause points, and he was very close to stripping that ball too on that sack of getting Notre Dame a touchdown. And that's the thing about Jack Kaiser, man, going in there, getting the sack, and then as he's going to the ground, like ripping the ball. I think that was really good from him. Really good to see that kind of play. The Adamalola twins coming in there. Jason Adamalola, obviously the huge play on the 4th down. A number of contributions. I might have to put that one up on Twitter too. Jason Adamalola defeats the double team. I thought the guard left him a little bit too soon. It would have been better in that situation for him to hold it maybe a beat longer. But he lets it, he lets him go. He scrapes the linebacker, and then Jason Adamalola is able to cross face on the center and make the play. And then I thought Nana made a huge play there where he basically stoned. I think I'm gonna have to. That's why I need to break it down because I don't remember it. But he stoned. I think it was maybe the puller or the tackle that was outside of him, and basically made it so the back could not. I mean, the back essentially runs into the back of the offensive lineman, and that allows Jason Adamalola to then come in and stuff the whole play. I thought Nana made a huge play on that. So that was. It'll be uncredited in the on the stat sheet, but a tremendous play by him. So really good, really good. Rajon says Stanford gives up over 200 yards rushing per game. Yeah, Stanford's not a good defense. They're not a good defense, and they they lost a heartbreaker last night. Man, it was that game should have been in the bag for them, coming to Notre Dame, South Bend with a little bit of momentum, and instead you blow it at the end. You're 1-4, and there's got to be talk of your coach like not being your coach anymore. So, not great for Stanford. And speaking of not great, the old BK, whoopsie doopsie, right? So that's what was it, 40-13? I think was the final score. 40. What was the final score, guys? I don't want to look it up. I want you. Let's revel in the fact that that BK got boat raced at home as a ranked team. They looked pretty fraudulent at times. I mean, they didn't look good. They squeaked out a couple games, and you could just kind of tell that they weren't not a great football team, right? And so and their special teams. Good Lord, Polian, man, get it together. Dropping punts, dropping kickoffs. It's just not good. Not good. Should have lost to Auburn. Yeah. I mean, they had like one of the lowest post game win expectancies that we've seen. It's just like not good for BK. But that's, those are the breaks, right? Those are the breaks. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to touch on? I think a lot of people were unhappy with the broadcast. I watched the games on mute. I don't want to get agitated during the game, especially by anything that isn't the actual play, right? I don't want to get agitated during the football game. And I feel like the way people are talking about it, it's like, I'm just going to pass. I'm just going to pass on it. I want these to be enjoyable experiences. And if they're not going to be very good, then it goes, it's a bad experience. I don't like it. So interested to see how people felt about that. Let's see. Let's come to some final things before we close it down for the day. I guess so. So Notre Dame has Stanford next. Then you have UNLV, and then you have Syracuse. I think that's. Well, wait. When is Navy in there? I'm messing up the schedule. It's embarrassing. So it's probably Navy, but I think maybe before Syracuse. Either way, Notre Dame should be clear to run the table going into. Mitchell, I'll talk about that in a second. Notre Dame should be clear to run the table going into Clemson, and then that'll be a huge game. I mean, that sets up to be a big, top five opponent coming in, at least top 10 coming in. And that'll be a big one. And that's what you want, right? Like you wanted that game to be huge. They're going to have Peyton Bowen in for that game. And I think for Peyton Bowen, if you had concerns and the concerns were definitely warranted after losing to Marshall the way they did, not looking good on offense, not looking good, frankly, on defense. I think the team has completely turned it around. And I think that kind of couples with Oklahoma just turning into a huge dumpster fire. I mean, my goodness, 49-0. You get skunked. That's in a rivalry game. I mean, that's terrible, right? That's you can't have that happen, right? And then Texas A&M is now, the wheels are kind of falling off of that one. They caught Alabama with a backup quarterback, so those teams don't look good. And now Notre Dame's back on the ascent. That Clemson game is going to be a huge one. So. Hopefully that plays well into Notre Dame's favor. I can't imagine that it wouldn't. So here's a comment. CFB hurts. When our defense turns into Mr. Hyde, is it one player screwing up each player? Does the whole team lose its mind for a series or two? So what I noticed last night, and I haven't rewatched the game yet, so there's that. It's what you bring up here. It's the confusion. It's not knowing the assignment, right? The deep ball at the end of the game, the deep ball against North Carolina, someone doesn't know what they're doing, right? It's either Cam or it's Bracey. Someone doesn't have the call and they're not executing the play, right? Same thing last night. There's no way that Houston Griffith in any defense is vacating the middle of the field like that in single high man. No way. So either he doesn't know or the defense doesn't know. Either way, it's a bust. It's just a complete miscommunication. And then after that, you got players they're not getting lined up. They're running around pre-snap. You can't get guys ready to go. That's the thing that really kind of concerns me, is that there are times when the team is just completely confused and discombobulated. It's one thing to give up plays. It's another thing to give them up because you don't know what you're doing, right? So that really concerns me. I don't like that. No one likes that, right? So it's just, that's something that we just gotta have to deal with, I guess. I'll close this up. There we go. All right, Stanford had the biggest meltdown last night, up 27-10 with 11 minutes left and loses. It's not good. Not good by Stanford. Rajon with some stats for the post-game morning after. Stanford's 74th ranked offense, 110th defense point-wise, 9th strength of schedule, according to College Football Reference. Yeah, I mean, Stanford, they're just not. Notre Dame is basically, this is about, are they going to lay an egg? If they lay an egg, they could lose. And that's just true, right? That's what it is. Stanford's not a very good football team. And look, Notre Dame's had a very tough schedule up to this point, right? Like, they are due for some games where it's like, hey, we could really build some momentum here. They are absolutely due for that. They've played a tough schedule according to the metrics and that sort of thing. That North Carolina win is going to look better and better. 5-1 football team. I think they should be ranked pretty soon, frankly. But we'll see. If they keep winning, then they will, and that defense will look really good. Let's see. Mitchell, having watched a few minutes of Alabama, Texas, 8-4. I'd take Garrett over Danielson all day, every day. So you're talking about Gary Danielson. I've never been a big fan of his, just generally. I don't like him. But then I don't listen to Garrett, right? Like, I don't listen to the guy. Frankly, it's just like NBC. Like, come on, man. Like, the Notre Dame's a premier product, right? Their ratings are excellent all the time, and you're giving us this. Like, come on, like, take it seriously. It's such a it's such a bad, like, it's don't treat the program like this, right? Like, it's your product. Take pride in it. It's just, I don't know. It could just be a lot better. I'm just not super excited. Let's see. I think your last question was spot on about who's playing well on defense for opposing offenses to not be able to do well. I'm confused. Let's see. Too much on their plate. Jason, what are you telling me here? Let me see. I think your last question was your question last was spot on about who is playing well on defense for opposing offenses to not be able to do well. Follow up with that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. So follow up with that, Jason, and I'll get to it. Eric Hansen. Let's shout out the Eric Hansen from Inside Sports on Rivals. Chris Schreiber. Fun stat from Erica. Oh, I see what you're saying, Jason. All right, I'll get to that. Harvard grad transfer moves up to number 3 nationally in punting. 46. He's bombing it. He's bombing it. And then he saves the touchdown. Unbelievable football player. He should win the award. What's the award? Ray Guy for punters? Whatever it is. Give it to him. Give it to him. So what I said last night, is basically, like, who on the defense is actually playing. Like, the defense is playing well as a whole, but there's, like, not one player on the defense who's, like, having a great year, like this guy. Let's talk about him for, like, kind of All-American, right? So last year, Foskey was obviously playing it on a huge high level. And so it was like he was causing a lot of plays, creating a lot of, sacks and fumbles and that sort of thing. He was playing great, right? I think but beyond that, like, Howard Cross is playing well, but it's not like his tackle for loss numbers are really high. He's just playing really good football. Like, it's been solid. But like, no one's like being a star, right? There's no Michael Mayer of the defense, right? Like, no one on the back end. Like, and I said last night, and I was wrong about this. I thought Bracy got the start for Cam, but Bracy got the start for Morrison, which is funny because Morrison started the last 2 games and he wasn't number 1 on the depth chart. And then he was number 1 on the depth chart, and they started Tariq Bracy. So that was weird, but whatever. Let's see. Too bad Sock couldn't get a Notre Dame as a freshman. Absolutely. That's unbelievable punter. Yeah, I think there might be something to this, honestly, because there's too much confusion in the back. It's too much. You can't give up those plays, and that's just unacceptable. And stop blitzing the safety from depth. Stop it. Don't do it anymore. It doesn't work. They're never getting home, which is not a good. It's not a good situation for Notre Dame. It never has been. Please don't. You couldn't get there with Kyle Hamilton. You're not getting there with anybody. All right, unless it's Ramon Henderson, basically from a linebacker spot. Right. So, I mean, I think that's where Notre Dame needs to go. I think if the comments are done, I think I'm going to call it. I got to get inside to get to my kids. So yeah, I think it was a good win, and it sets up Notre Dame to have a good run of wins now to really get. It's like, okay, really put the Marshall game behind. Like, that game needs to just like not even be a thought in our minds anymore, right? Obviously, we can look back in hindsight and say it was just a trash performance against a not very good football team, and Notre Dame has flushed it, right? Since then, they've gone 3-0. They've beaten some good football teams. They beat a 5-1 North Carolina team, and now they beat a ranked BYU team, right? Who's lost to Notre Dame and Oregon, right? So I think there's a lot to kind of build off of there. I think they could really go on a good run here, and really, man, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. Love your shows. Love you guys tuning in. Rajon, thanks, man. I appreciate those comments. Everybody, thank you for saying thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone says like, oh, yeah, good job by Marcus Freeman. Absolutely. Honestly, seriously, that is a huge like point by Rajon here. Like, Marcus Freeman starts 0-2. Everyone thinks he's in over his head, not a good coach. Completely turns it around. I mean, full credit, right? I mean, I think the narrative on him. I mean, he's really kind of solidified. Like, people were saying like, oh, like bad hire. He's turned it around. I mean, very impressive. Great sign for the future. Really great sign. Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. And that's why we want to hit subscribe and hit the like, so more people see the show, more people get to join us in here and have a good conversation. I had a great time today, celebrating a great win by Notre Dame. I'll tell you what, Gomez, we will talk about this. So Jamie and I will be on the we'll do our show on Tuesday, and then we'll do our show on Thursday. Come back, Gomez. Come back to that show. We'll talk about that progress for Notre Dame Stanford game. We'll be getting into all those things. So let's do that. All right, guys. So once again, hit subscribe button, hit the like button. You're gonna want to check in Power Hour tomorrow with Mike and Jamie. If you haven't yet, go watch the post game show from last night. I think it was a really good show. The reaction show. It was a really good time, and it was we got into the comments there. I really had a good time with that. So it was really fun. So one more time, I'm going to say it again. Hit subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great Sunday. We will talk to you next week.